So, the default assets of RPGMaker are an amazing thing for someone who's just starting out with RPGMaker, who maybe doesn't have the skills yet to make assets of their own to the level of quality they'd like. But, truth be told, these sprites leave a lot to be desired. If you don't want to make a game with chibi sprites, then, well, you're kind of out of luck, because this is all default RPGMaker has to offer. But, if you want taller, more detailed sprites, you can't just cram a taller sprite into this tiny little space. I mean, that'll look terrible and goofy as hell. It'll be like my height in real life. Well, that's exactly what I'm here to help with, in my own weird, convoluted, sort of messed up, non-professional way, because I'm just a goober with RPGMaker program. So, let's go from this to this. The first thing we're going to want to do is figure out what kind of sprites we actually want to use, because you know, you kind of need to know that. If you want inspiration, a great place to look that I've found is the Sprites resource, which I actually found from someone else. Here you can find tons of sprites ripped straight from your favorite games. Wow, that's a word. Ripped straight from your favorite games, even. But for this tutorial, though, I'll be making a basic tall character sprite sheet from scratch. Now, to make the actual sprite sheet, we need to make sure our sprite sheet is the right size. You see, the default sprite sheet of each RPGMaker game is fairly small, with 2003 and 2000 being the exceptions, of course. But we want it to be bigger than that if we want our sprites to look natural and not, well, ridiculously tiny compared to everything else. Now, since my favourite version, personally, of RPGMaker is VXAce, these are the size dimensions that I'll be using to make these sprites double the height, well, not double the height, they're like 1.5 times the height of what they are now, I think. I don't know. So now let's actually make the sprites, which, you know, will help. So boot up whatever software you want to use for creating these sprites. I personally use Sprite because I absolutely love it, and I think it's the best pixel art tool ever. I tried using GIMP, and I'm sorry, it was wank. I do not enjoy using it. No, Sprite's for me. So first thing you want to do if you are using Sprite is to turn on the grid and set the width to the same as the width of a single frame. So for example, if it's for VXAce, the width would be 32. If it's for any of the others, it'd be 64, you know. But then for the height, what you want to do is, obviously, if you're doing 1.5 times, then you'd 1.5 times it. So instead of this, it'd be this. But if you're doing double, then, you know, 32 plus 32, you know, whatever that equals. I'm not good at math. But this way, we'll be able to clearly see where we need to draw the sprites to make sure they're laid out properly on the sprite sheet, so that they're not, like, jittering around. Trust me, I've had that problem before. Then you just get to making your sprite sheet. Now, when you're making the walk cycle from the side, do not, I repeat, do not make my mistake and simply grab the whole row, copy it, flip it, and then call it a day. Why? Well, because I thought this would work for my sprites, but only much later, once I actually imported it all and, you know, booted it up to test it, did I realize that doing this will cause your character to walk naturally one way, but then make like Michael Jackson and start moonwalking the other way. So unless you want your character to be a smooth criminal, then, you know, just what you want to do is select them one by one and flip them one frame at a time. Also, a neat little trick for sideways walk cycles that I've found is if you animate the first step, you can then just copy those frames again, but swap the legs around, and boom, you've just saved yourself tons of time. And the arms as well, of course, which I actually did forget while making this tutorial, but don't worry about that. Once you're done, make sure to put a $ in front of the sprite sheet before exporting it, because this is very important. Otherwise, RPGMaker won't recognize that it's supposed to be a different height to the default. If you go into default RPGMaker, you'll notice that there are sprite sheets that have $ in front of them. Like, these are ones like for monsters or for gates, and it basically just means, hey, RPGMaker, this does not follow the 32 by 32 pixel rule. So yeah, make sure you add that. Then all you need to do is just import it. You can either do it through, you know, this screen here that I like to use, or you can just drag and drop into the games folder itself, align it to the character, well, assign it even, assign it to the character that you want it to be with, and then boom, just boot it up and there you go. So without any extra bells and whistles and just creating the sprite sheet the way that vanilla RPGMaker allows us, we've managed to make bigger sprites. So yeah, you can do this with literally any kind of sprite that you want. Now, this is obviously definitely better, but it's not quite there yet. The walk cycle isn't bad, but it's not great either. Because the default RPGMaker only allows for 3 frames per animated walk cycle, it ends up looking kinda, well, stiff, I guess. Though this style definitely adds charm, and, you know, if you want this to look this way, then by all means, but what if you want, like, a nice fluid walk cycle that's buttery smooth? Well, for that you'll be needing scripts and plugins, and while I can't speak for the other RPGMaker versions, if you're using VXAce then you're in luck, because I'll be making a video on how to make more detailed fluid walk cycles with different animations for running, walking, and even diagonal movement very soon. But for now though, I hope you enjoyed and found this helpful, and good luck with your game, because I've been making a game for ages and I thought it'd only take me like a month, and it's now month 7. But anyway, yeah, see ya.